What's the most unexplainable thing that has happened to you? Before we start with the first story, please hit a subscribe and ring the notification bell to stay updated with us. Story 1. I woke up from a nap, laughing explosively and uncontrollably. It was one of the scariest things that's ever happened to me. I couldn't catch my breath and I rolled onto the floor clutching my chest. I got so scared and ran to my dad while still laughing. I believe he thought I was joking around, but I sat in the floor and it slowly stopped. Never happened again. Story 2. Lost my at-the-moment card, went to the bank to have it replaced. Told them what I wanted the PIN to be, and they told me that the PIN would be randomly assigned and mailed separately. And once I received both, I could then change the PIN to what I wanted it to be. The randomly assigned PIN was the one that I wanted. Story 3. I had a dream that I was a Japanese boy in a poor fishing town growing up in the 80s. I worked on the boat with my dad and we lived in this small house with my sister and mom. I went TI school, made friends, graduated high school, met a beautiful woman, and became a successful businessman. We had a son together who was 4 years old and I loved the life I lived. I was in my mid-30s when I woke up. I don't know how my brain dreamed up an entirely different life on its own. Most of my dreams are insane. Yet this one felt so normal. I remember how the boat looked, how poor I was, how I eventually got some money and watched technology evolve in front of my eyes. For context, I'm 24, and when I had this dream, I was like 15 of 16. I'm a white guy who's never been to Japan. Story 4. There was a huge earthquake in San Francisco in the 80s. My dad was there for a conference. We felt the quake where we were, and I suddenly started screaming, "Dad! Dad! Look out for the chandelier." My mom and Sibs were understandably freaked out. When we finally got a hold of him, he told us that he'd been in a ballroom when the quake hit and had a sudden urge to jump to the side. A chandelier fell right where he was previously standing. My family never talks about it. Freaked everyone out severely. Story 5. I was at my house after hanging out with my family all day. It was about 11 when I came in. I started taking my meds and heard a low, creepy voice say, "Fire, there's going to be danger." Meds are for acne. I was so scared I thought my dad was messing with me, but no one was in the house, absolutely no one. And the next day we hung out again. It was 12 when we came in to get more drinks. We all smell this horrible stench of smoke. We check every normal place, microwave, oven, fireplace. Nothing. We run downstairs and cannot find the fire. The smell is getting worse. It's in the basement by density of smoke. We call the fire department and they find an electrical fire in our wall. It would have burned our house down if we went to bed and thought it was fine. Yeah, 12,000 in damages and it's all fixed. Never heard it again. Story 6. I'm a pediatric occupational therapist. The first patient I ever lost was a 2-year-old girl who we knew would eventually leave us due to multiple medical problems. She passed peacefully at home, where we did all our therapy sessions. She was never not attached to multiple machines that kept her alive. A track, vent, CO2 monitors, so many wires and alarms. A week to the day after her passing, I woke from a dream where I was holding her on my lap. Her mother was next to me and we were playing. She was completely healed, not a wire in sight. Smiling, talking. She was not able to speak in life, and being a normal 2-year-old. I knew she was okay. I already believed in heaven, but this made me believe I saw her there. Story 7. My daughter and I were standing outside of a shop in a strip mall in a very suburban area. A smartly dressed man in a nice suit was approaching us, and as he did, a squirrel approached as well. Strange place for a squirrel to be. The man smiled at us. We smiled back. The squirrel scurried closer to the man. The man fixed his gaze on the squirrel. And the squirrel scurried faster toward him as he started to panic, and that damn squirrel ran up the man's leg and around his body, and that grown man let out a shriek I'll never forget. My daughter and I just watched in horror as this poor man got assaulted by a crazy-ass squirrel. The squirrel finally took off, and all 3 of us just stared at each other like, what the fuck just happened here? It was wild. Story 8. Was in a car accident where the vehicle rolled twice over a median into oncoming traffic lanes. Ejected from the car and walked away with a scratch on my forearm. I'm pretty strict about wearing my seatbelt, and for some reason I didn't have it on this particular day. I was told if I had it on, I more than likely would have broken my neck in the crash and would be dead. felt very out of body for the rest of the day. I am still strict about my seatbelt, and always wear it now despite the bizarre occurrence from the crash. Crazy part was there was 5 others in the car with the same circumstances as me. We all had minor to zero injuries. It felt weird and unexplainable to walk away from that situation. Story 9. Sitting on the couch with my, at the time, girlfriend, stairs to the 2nd floor covered by an adjacent wall. Suddenly, we hear what sounds like someone stomping running down the stairs. Naturally, I jumped up assuming someone had broken in, but there was nobody there. We checked every room upstairs, every closet, under every bed. Nothing. We then went on to have a bunch of other weird and unexplained shit happen the 3 years we lived in that house. Story 10. Many years ago, we were very broke. I had been laid off from my job and struggling to find work. I was sitting on the couch and there was a pillow on the floor beside me. I had 2 small kids and they were playing in a corner of the room about 15 feet away. I heard a random plunk and a penny had landed on the pillow beside me. My kids had not thrown it and I had no idea where it came from. I took it as a sign that things would work out. The next day, I got a call about a job. Story 11. I have a few. First is when I worked at a grocery store as a teen. Manager called Code G, which was everyone bring their trash to the compactor. The manager was also a family friend, so joking around was normal. As I'm throwing trash away, I sense something's about to be thrown at me and I duck. Rotten food passes over my head. My manager friend is shocked and questioned how I knew he was about to throw something at me, and I just said I had a feeling. Next scenario is saving my grandmother's life. I used to visit her every couple months or so. Wasn't a far drive, 30 minutes. One day I was at Walmart and randomly thought of her. Walmart was about halfway to her house and I didn't buy perishables, so I figured why not stop and see her. As I pull in her driveway, she's sitting on her front porch. She looks up at me and looks back down. I immediately know something's wrong because she always jumps up to greet me. As I approached, I noticed her lips were blue and started calling. Her lungs were 80% filled with fluid and 2 collapsed heart valves. The paramedics told me if I got caught at a red light, she'd probably be dead. This was around 80 years old. She passed away at 95, a year ago. Story 12. I was in high school at a friend's birthday party. Her parents booked us a suite at a resort hotel, the kind with a mini water park you can use free if you're staying in the hotel. It was a pool party sleepover, and we got the whole suite to ourselves, though her mom was in an adjoining room. We were staying up late watching movies. One was a horror movie about a murderer, and we were doing what teenage girls do, getting scared of nothing. Somehow we got it in our heads there was a killer outside waiting to break in and murder us. Me, having to be the brave little skeptic, decided I would prove to my friends we were safe by opening the curtains. There was a man standing right outside looking in through the window. I closed the curtains quickly, and we were all screaming. Her mom came rushing in. We told her what happened, and she checked outside, but there was no man. To this day, I wonder what that man was doing. Was he really a murderer who got scared away by our screaming? Was he some guy passing by that happened to look over at the exact moment the curtains opened? Did we just imagine the whole thing from sitting up talking about how scared we were? Was he a peeping Tom trying to catch a glimpse of 14-year-old girls in pajamas? Did he overhear our conversation and think it would be funny to play a prank on us? Spooky. LOL. Story 13. This happened just under 6 months ago, but I had intense dreams for about 2 weeks straight of the same man that I had never seen before in my life. And every single instance that I saw him, he was trying to hurt, kill me. Literally every time I slept, he was suffocating me with a bag, or slipping something in a drink, finding my house and stalking me, etc. After dreaming about him for 2 weeks or so, I met this man IRL at a gas station. We didn't talk to each other, I knew nothing about him, but he was there and I could immediately tell it was him. I finished pumping my gas and got in my car, and this man came up in front of my car, putting his hands on the hood and just staring at me through the windshield. It was insanely creepy, and I couldn't leave. It was late at night, so there weren't many people nearby, and I just got this horrible gut-wrenching feeling of wanting to puke because something was very wrong. I honked my horn super loud and he flinched and pulled away from my hood, so I took the opportunity to drive away. I have no idea who he was. I had never seen him before in my life, but for some reason I saw him harming me in my dreams. and I genuinely think that my fight-or-flight response in that moment and honking at him saved me from whatever he was going to do while camping out in front of my car. Story 14. So far, cancer. I'm 21. When I was 20, I was diagnosed with bladder cancer. If you know anything about bladder cancer, it is very, very common in people who are 70 plus. In people my age or younger, it is exceptionally rare. So rare that from all of recorded medical history until 2010, there was only 125 cases worldwide of bladder cancer presenting in a patient 20 and under. Now I can think of a lot to explain why I got cancer, but even my doctor was baffled. It took 7 months to diagnose because all my doctors were like, there's absolutely no way you have bladder cancer. It's unheard of. Fast forward to the same doctor telling me in all his years as a urologist and all the thousands and thousands of patients he's seen with bladder cancer, I was the youngest by a long shot. Nobody that came to mind has come close to being as young as I am with the disease. He wants me to take part in genetic testing so I can know to look out for cancer in my children one day, and because the medical field knows so little about bladder cancer at my age, they might learn something from my case. The good news is, in just about every single case of bladder cancer at my age, including myself, it's literally almost a LWAYS curable, and may even be one of the easiest cancers to beat. During my fight with it, I did a ton of research and I couldn't find not one case where somebody my age died with it. Not one. It was scary nonetheless, but I am here about 6 months since my surgery and chemo. I had my 3-month checkup about a month ago, and so far so good. I was told it's unlikely to ever return. TLDR, the most unexplainable thing that's happened to me is getting an extremely rare cancer. Story 15. This doesn't exactly rise to an X-Files case, but I have no idea how I got home from a bar one night. I was living on my own and went out with some childhood friends and my brother. The next thing I remember was waking up in my childhood bedroom in my parents' house. My brother and friends were freaking out because they had no idea what happened to me. They didn't really understand what happened. They said I had 2, maybe 3 drinks that got me really drunk, then started making plans to leave when I disappeared. I drove to the bar that night, so they went outside to see if my car was still there, which it was. My parents said 4 guys they had never seen carried me to the door, then helped take me upstairs. My parents knew the people I was out with, including my brother. These were different people. About an hour after I woke up at my parents' house, I got a message from one of the bartenders there I was friendly with. She told me she thought I was drugged. She said I had like 2 or maybe 3 drinks when I suddenly looked like I was blackout drunk. The next thing she knew, 4 guys she didn't know were helping me out the door. The crazy part, though, was the bar, and my apartment, was a solid 45 minutes from my parents' house. I have no idea who the guys were, what, if anything, was given to me, why something would have been given to me, or how they even knew where my parents lived. I don't believe anything was stolen, nor was I injured in any way. My mom said the guys who took me to the door were normal-looking guys about my age and perfectly polite to her. In the years since that's happened, nobody has said, "Bro, you were wasted that night we took you home." All right, folks, that's a wrap. If you like more of this, please hit a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. You can also share your thoughts in the comment below. I'll see you in the next video.